Hey guys, Casey Scanlon here. Going to give you a quick fishing report for Lake of the Ozarks. It's April 5th, and it's been about a week and a half since we did our last report, and not a whole lot has changed. The water temp's still in the upper 40s. It's getting to 50 plus degrees in the afternoon. We had a real warm afternoon today. So those fish are trying to move up. I keep saying, any moment now, these fish are going to make a major move to the bank, and we're only days away. We still got some weather coming through this week, which is going to slow the progression down. But this warm afternoon that we had today is going to help things out. We just keep having these fronts, and it keeps knocking these fish back a little bit. They're trying to make a move to the bank. Most of the fish that I'm catching are fat and healthy, full of eggs, ready to go to the bank and spawn. So that should happen as soon as we get a little warming trend with some nice days. There's pollen on the water today, so spring is in the air. The trees are starting to bloom here in my yard, and these fish have spawning on their minds. But right now, a lot of the baits and tactics remain the same since our last report. I fished a couple tournaments. Fished one with my buddy Corey last week, and we had 17 something pounds. Got a small check in that one, and it took some really big weights to do well in that event. It seemed to be a really good day for fishing. But, the next couple days, the fishing changed again, and those fish kind of backed up a little bit. So you got to stay on your toes. Each day is a little bit different. As far as baits go, I've had to switch it up between a jig, a jerk bait, a crankbait, spinner bait, just depending on kind of the conditions of the day, dictate what baits I'm throwing. Fished a tournament on Sunday this past weekend with my girlfriend, and we had, 15 pounds or so, just a little bit under 15 pounds. A lot slower day than Saturday. Saturday there was anglers in action, and they absolutely crushed them. There's a lot of big bags, but the difference was it was really windy. So, the wind has really been a big factor. We haven't been getting a lot of it, but when we do, it pushes those fish to the bank, gets them feeding, gets them on some reaction baits like a jerk bait, spinner bait, crankbait. All that stuff is a lot better. On the non-windy days, it seems like the jerk bait and, the jig especially seems to kind of produce. You just got to kind of get your timing right. Seems like there's certain feeding windows throughout the day. Morning seems really good if you can get out there early. The fish are biting a little bit for the first hour or two, and then it slows up a little bit. So, those fish are on the move, so you just kind of got to stay on your toes and kind of let the day dictate what you do. So I'll go through some of the baits we've been throwing. This past Sunday in the tournament, we threw a jerk bait. It was real slick, and we caught most of our fish on the Tackle HD Fiddlesticks jerk bait. I threw the Magnum a lot. We also threw just the regular one. That Table Rock Shad's been a good color. But basically, translucent type colors, anything real natural, your clear water baits are going to be working because the water's pretty clear, especially for spring at Lake of the Ozarks. We haven't been getting a ton of rain. So most of the lake's clearer than normal, and the water level is still about the same. It's like that 655-ish. Been running a ton of current, which tends to put fish in the points or around points, and feeding. So points have been good. Channel swings. These fish are starting to move back into the pockets. So throwing a jig and a jerk bait around in some of these shallow gravel pockets. Your steeper banks are still producing. And there's fish all over the place. Main Lake points, bluffs, things like that. There's a lot of fish moving. A lot of fish have been in the creeks, and a lot of fish are continuing to move into those. So they're at the fronts. They're all the way at the backs of the creeks. You kind of got to, follow the shad, chase the wind around a little bit and stay on your toes. We've literally, we've gone and crushed them in certain areas the past, few weeks and gone back the very next day, and those fish are gone, or they've repositioned, or maybe I have to catch them on a different bait, but it's constantly changing out there, and it's going to continue to do so until the weather stabilizes a little bit. So I'll go through some of these baits we've been using. First, we talked about this jerk bait, been the best bait by far And then, the crankbait on your windy days. This is the Tackle HD crankhead. Been throwing square bills around. You can throw a flat-sided crankbait, whatever you got confidence in. This one's been a really good one. It gets down there a little bit deeper, and the fish have been hanging out a little bit deeper. On windy days, they'll push right up there. And don't get me wrong, there's fish shallow every single day. We've been catching a lot of them up there on the jig and jerk bait, but most of my bites have been backed out off the bank a little bit. But that could change. When these fish get up and feed, and they get right there on the bank. And any day now, there's going to be big numbers of them up there cruising around, where we'll be able to catch them on, basically anything you want to throw. A variety of plastics, finesse worms, wacky rigs, Carolina rigs, jigs, brush hogs, all sorts of stuff's going to work. But the jig right now, I say that in every report, and I'll probably say it in every report throughout the year. I try to keep the jig in my hand as much as possible. It's really efficient on this lake. You can fish it at a variety of depths. You can fish it around boat docks, brush piles, laydowns, logs, rocks. Anything you come across, this thing will get through it. So this is the Trophy Bass Company Pro Jig. It's just black and blue. I got a little chunk trailer on here now, but I switch that up all the time. I like the Tackle HD Speed Bug. It's just a little craw trailer that works really good as well. But black and blue. I got some more jigs around here laying everywhere, but brown's been really good. The finesse jig's been working good. So here's just a little Trophy Pro finesse jig. 5/16 to ½ ounce are the sizes I've been throwing, just based on how deep I want to target those fish. But, dragging that out off the bank has been getting a lot of bites for me. Been getting a lot of bites around laydowns. These shallow boat docks are starting to get some fish pulled up around the shallow brush and kind of utilizing the docks later in the afternoon. So look for that jig to be a big player all the way through the spawn and throughout the year. Then we get, some windy days. Spinnerbait's always going to get some bites. The water is a little bit too clean for my liking in a lot of areas. So look for that stained water. Pray that it rains so we get some stain and we can really start mashing them on this thing. But believe it or not, this is a great clear water spinnerbait. And if we get a little bit of wind, this thing's dynamite. So on windy days is when I pick this up. Been getting some bites on it in the mornings. Suspended fish around boat docks, around laydowns, stuff like that. So they'll run out and eat this thing. Don't be afraid to throw it. Just try to fish it just out of sight or where you can barely see the blades turning, and you're going to catch a ton of fish. So great, ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce has been the one I've been throwing a lot too. Especially on the days where the fish are kind of backed out from the bank, on those windy days, and after a rain, or if we get a major push of fish to the bank, that ½ ounce is going to be what I'm going to throw most of the time. But if they're backed up, throw a little bit heavier bait and get it out there. The CS2 spinnerbait's been working good. I've been switching it up between this loud white chartreuse and like a real natural color with more of a translucent skirt. So I've been throwing that CS2 without the painted blades, on some of the clear, sunnier days, and I've been getting a few bites on that as well. A lot of fish are suspended. So, any day now, they're going to get off of this Alabama rig. But right now, I got a trip tomorrow, so I'm actually out here in the boat rigging one up. But they've been biting the A-rig a little bit. I've got that with 3 jig heads on there, and then 3.5-inch Tackle HD swimmers. The Tackle HD swimmer has been a good one for me. It's really durable, and these fish are real active. So I've been throwing it on braid. 1/8 ounce, 3/16, 1/4 ounce jig heads. Those have all been, good sizes to use. So the A-rig bite is still going, but as that water temp creeps up, they're going to get off of this thing, and you'll be able to throw some more conventional type baits. We've been throwing a shaky head a little bit this week. That's been working well too. But these fish are waiting to come in. One day the fishing's fantastic, and the next day it's just kind of mediocre. But we've caught a lot of big fish. Even on those slow days, we've been catching some big ones. 5-pounders. A lot of 6s and 7s being weighed in at the tournaments. So a lot of quality fish being caught. Just these clear days. Bluebird days have been a little bit tougher. So last couple times I've been out on the water, we've been faced with those scenarios, but each time we've caught big fish. But the numbers are a little bit down from what I typically expect this time of year. But the fishing's going to get great anytime now. Crappie fishing is fantastic. It's been great all spring, all winter. Been throwing just small little crappie jigs, 16th ounce, 8th ounce, throwing them up around boat docks mostly, brush piles. The slip bobbers working good on windy days around shallow gravel points, things like that. But yeah, the crappie fishing's been real good. Still catching a few of them on a jerkbait as well. That Tackle-HT Fiddlesticks has been good. But there's a lot of tournaments going on right now, big events, club tournaments, stuff like that. So a lot of boats out on the water, and the fishing's getting good. It was a little bit better today than it was yesterday, so each day should get better. So I hear the raindrops hitting the roof of my shop right now, so that's a good thing. Maybe we'll get this water level up a little bit. And maybe these water temps will creep up with the warm rain, so that would be good. But look for this fishing to be dynamite the next few weeks. If it remains anything like it has been, that big bass bash that's coming up is going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of big fish weighed in. There's been a lot of 7-pound fish getting caught. So been good, and it's going to continue to get better. So until next week, good luck fishing. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the content. I'll drop a link to all the baits and stuff that I mentioned here and some of my sponsors in the description of this video. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.